What is up, guys? I do hope you're well. My name is Mark, and today we got some more stories from our very own subreddit r/daddycringe, which we are going to share today. If you want your story shared, don't forget to post it on r/daddycringe, and I will do my best to get it up on our channel. If you do enjoy this content, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell, as it massively helps us out. And with that being said, let's get straight into today's stories. Much love, guys. Our next story is from BSC Beth, encountering a Southern Karen. Dear Mark, love your stories, and since I have watched most, if not all your videos, I thought I would contribute. To all reading, I'm on mobile and Southern, so my story will be long. It happened 10 plus years ago, so some of the details might be embellished with a little Southern flair. Please be kind when you comment. A long time ago in a far off place called Atlanta, GA, I was a sweet 28-year-old female, now 38, and yes, still female, but less sweet, lol, and was working 90 plus hours at my job. My overlords hated that they were paying me so much overtime for the past 6 weeks that they humbly requested that I take some time off. I humbly agreed and started a well needed break. First thing I did after catching up on some sleep and spending time with my kid was go to the holiest of places I knew, my local nail salon. This place was fantastic with pedicure stations that took you to heaven. It was ran by an Asian couple, and they knew me well since my father also had a business in the local shopping centre. I say Asian because I have no clue which country they came from. Hope that is not offensive to anyone. I also never considered it my business to ask. On this day I went in, and it was not really busy. I was directed to a chair and spoke to the female owner, boss, about what I wanted, as well as my auntie, my pedicurist. By the time the story kicks off, I have no idea how long I was there. I was so focused on how great it felt to feel the foot jacuzzi massaging, the one part of my body that worked the hardest these past weeks. This is where our story begins. As I sat, feeling as if I was in nirvana, I felt a tap, tap, tap on my shoulder. The kind of tap that is with the points of your fingers and nails, and then a hand grip on my shoulder. I knew this grip. All children has felt this grip. This was the grip of an adult, and one that was making sure they were understood to be the boss. I opened my eyes to come face to face with her. People have read it, I could bore you with the details of her looks, but we all know her too well. She is the demon we speak of in hushed tones and in subreddits. She is the name that brings fear to our souls and causes kids to run in horror. She was my first. She was Karen. Karen never removed her hand from my shoulder, but her smile sent shivers down my spine. For those outside of the South, it was a smile that starts out small and grows inch by inch, revealing her candy-coated fangs. It is one that is followed by even sweeter words, but you can tell that our words are not a request. Oh no, never a request. Karen starts off smiling, waiting, and I stupidly said, yes, while removing her hand from my shoulder. Karen says, hello dear, my what lovely weather it is. The sun had set and you could not see much outside, so I just shrugged. I said, I guess. Karen says, my daughter is on her way to get her nails done with me. And I just blink at her. Karen leads in a bit close, staring at me in the eyes, and her tone goes cold and sweet again. It would be nice to sit with her. Oh yes, it would be lovely. I knew right away what she wanted. Heck, a blind person could see what she wanted. The only other seat was to my left, but dear reader, I'm a bit of a smart butt, so I nodded and smiled. Yes, that would be great. Maybe I should call my mum to join me, since there is an open chair. Karen about jumped. Oh boy, did I give her a fright just now. No, I meant maybe you should let us have your seat, so we could sit together. A short sigh of relief hit me. Maybe I was overthinking it. I don't see why not. And off Karen darted with a pep in her step of a much younger woman to the front of the store to speak with boss. I just shake my head and lean down to speak to auntie about my daughter. I figured Karen told boss the same story she told me, and that when the time came, the seats would be there for mother and daughter. It was first come first serve, but come on, boss was not a monster. A few seconds later, boss comes walking over and starts talking to auntie, all while looking at Karen and I. Boss speaks broken English, but I truly think that she is an English ninja that likes people to underestimate her brilliance. She says, chair broken? I said, no. The boss then says, you no like to sit here. My hamster ran a short distance on its wheel before I knew what happened. I said, no, I'm fine here. Finishing with a sweet southern smile at Karen. Thanks. Boss nods and walks off to answer the phone, leaving Karen glaring at me and I just smiling at my victory. My chair, bitch. Karen speaks through gritted teeth, trying to look pleasant to anyone around. You do realise that you are ruining my evening out with my daughter. I just look around her and then around the room before leaning over and speaking with a hushed tone. I say, "Is she here now? Can you see her?" Karen huffs and cocks a hip. "No, she is not here yet." I say, "Oh good, thought you were having a mental break." Karen's mouth pops open and clasps at her chest. We'll call it clasping at one's pearls, and grits her teeth, even more as her tone turns harsh. "How dare you!" I just calmly shrug and turn to look elsewhere, showing that I was no longer willing to engage. Karen grabs her purse strap and storms off outside. From the corner of my eye, I could see she was on the phone, and she was mad. I'm not sure who the poor soul was on the other end of the line, but dear readers, I did pray for them at that moment. For the next 20 minutes or so, Karen paced back and forth outside the salon yelling into her phone before making her way back inside to speak to Boss. Boss tried to stand there and listen to Karen's rants before, as a ninja would, throwing up a finger, shushing Karen so Boss could answer a phone call. I swear Boss was a master of her environment, because mid "thank you for calling," she walks off with phone in hand, leaving Karen on pause. I was in awe and amazement while trying to stifle my laughter. Now this is a time a person might reflect on their choices to try to find their fault in situations, asking themselves, how could this have gone better? However, this Karen was just not done. This was Karen, and she was not done. Karen walks back over to me. "I was just told you have to move. My daughter is almost here, and we need your chair." I simply nod. "Almost, huh? You were told that? Really?" As if I did not have a clear line of sight to the front counter, where Karen and Boss was moments ago. Karen says, "Yes, so go on, I'll help you move." She reaches for my purse, but I get to it quicker and glare at her, silently conveying with my eyes, "Try it." Karen pulls her hand back and huffs again like a child. "Well, you have to move sometime, and I am getting that seat." I say, "For some reason, you're under the impression I am holding this seat in protest against you. Well, I'm simply trying to have my feet done without interruptions." Karen opens her mouth, and just like a boss, I whip my finger upwards, and I will be done when Auntie says I'm done, and not a second more. Karen stomps off back outside, and back to yelling at a poor soul on the other line, this time louder and attracting the attention of everyone else in the salon. I should mention that while all of this was going on, most, if not all, the employees were giggling at Karen's behaviour. I also think some were translating for those who didn't understand what was being said between us. Auntie, who was working on my feet, had to stop every so often to gain composure. By the time Karen's daughter arrived, 10 minutes after our last encounter, I was done and moved to a drying station. Karen ran from my open seat and almost sprung into it as if she was diving onto a live grenade. She looked at me with a prideful look, as if I'd finally conceded to her demands and saw the error of my ways. All in all, I was there for about an hour, and yet she still looked as if she won a battle royale with me. At this point, I was done, dried and paid, ready to head home. Karen's daughter, I'm sad to say, was left behind to be told about her mother's excursion in acquiring the chairs they now sit in. I said a silent prayer for her too that night. Thank you for reading. I've always wondered what it's like to be in a nail salon. Is it really that luxurious? I can't imagine someone sitting there and doing my nails for X amount of time. It just... Obviously I'm male. I know some males probably do have their nails done, but I can't imagine sitting there for that long and having them done. Please let me know it's that good. Our next story is from Paranoia Heim. r/Tales of Retail. The Star Wars Kid. Not to be confused with the internet sensation, Star Wars Kid. So this is the absolute best story I have. I tell it pretty much to everyone I meet. My friends tell it to their friends. The story has actually been told so many times that I've had people tell it back to me. And after all that, I wanted to share it with Mark first, because he has been so sweet to me. Oh, that means the world. Bless you. Thank you so much for that. Now don't get me wrong, it's not an absolute given people will like this story. In fact, I've probably hyped it up so much now that people will hate it just to make a point. But whatever, I still can't get through it without one of the people involved in telling is trying to get through it without tears in their eyes, even if it's just me from embarrassment. Okay, I've rambled enough. The story. So back in 2007, I worked at the video game store that so many people love to hate. Massive chain, famous for being kind of dickish to their employees. The thing is, most people spend a lot of time there loving their jobs because of the people you meet, on both sides of the counter, and the merchandise you sell being so insanely entertaining. Most of us have a fun story or two to tell, but with awesome people come the not so awesome people. A group of people I would wager between teen and young adult in ages often came into the store to either buy stuff or annoy the staff. Now the majority of them came as a group, were visibly educationally if not developmentally delayed, but not in a way that seemed to affect their socialisation. One guy in particular had a habit of constantly flirting with and borderline harassing us female staff. One of my best friends had been in his sights for the longest time, but had apparently decided now it was my turn. This guy for the majority was harmless, but he was pretty annoying with it, awkward as hell, and just a toe on the side of creepy. One day, while I was on cash, this guy, along with his much more developmentally delayed friends, came up to my till. The problem was, I had a massive line, and he just cut through all the people I was being paid to serve to ask me a question. Sigh. So I politely told him to wait at the end of the line, not only because it was what I was supposed to do, but because I wanted to delay the inevitable as long as I could. Now at the time, I considered myself average looking. Anyone who had a crush on me will tell you I'm beautiful, but it's a small group, and most of the others seem to consider me just average, which is honestly a higher grade than I would give myself. I never think someone has a crush on me because of this, combined with my chronically low self-esteem, and still, even I could tell this guy was about to ask me out. I served customers as my anxiety grew, trying not to mess up, while simultaneously going through how to gently let this guy down. It became even more obvious when my co-worker had gotten through his line, and the dude refused to be helped by him, in preference being helped by me. Frick. So the moment comes. Paranoid princess, do you have a boyfriend? Sweet relief, I could lie, say yes, and nip this whole thing in the bud. Thank you whatever relationship god was finally deciding to throw me a bone. Except it wasn't a bone this god threw me, it was something much more Star Wars themed. I say I do, sorry. He replies with, well maybe this will change your mind. The guy, I shit you not, proceeds to pull one of those old school collapsing lightsabers out of his backpack, struggles to fully extend the thing, and further begins to swing it around, full audio effects and everything. This dude's own best friend begins to full on guffaw, making these loud, near honking noises. He was laughing so hard, and full on pointed at his friend. My one co-worker is laughing at him, and the other one on the other till was pretending to blow his nose, as he pretended not to be laughing. The newly revealed Jedi gets angry that everyone is laughing, and instead of getting angry at the dudes who are literally pointing and / or laughing, he starts yelling at my co-worker. Meanwhile, I am mortified. I have no words. Not only have I never been in a situation anything like the one I found myself, but I felt genuinely bad for the guy. I knew I was just a fad. I wasn't attracted to him. He wasn't ugly, just not my type. Besides my just being his flavour of the day, had me not taking his feelings seriously. And I generally like to get to know a person before I jump into a relationship with them, no matter how good their pretend plastic sword technique was. Luckily for me, he got so angry at my co-worker, the one who was, from my perspective, being the most respectful out of the group, other than me, out of the fact that I was in sheer horror, that I never had the chance to turn him down. This was by far the most embarrassing thing that has ever happened to me. Thanks for taking the time to read this. Have a lovely day. Oh my god. I don't know how you didn't fall for that lightsaber technique though. To be fair, me being a massive Star Wars geek, I was thinking, yes lad, you go for it. Show her that Darth Maul technique. But yes, I can imagine how embarrassing that is if there's a queue of customers in front of you and this guy just whips out his lightsaber and just starts swinging it all over the place. With sound effects too. What I'd like to know though, did he still start coming in after like this all happened? Did he continue coming in? And was he always going for you after that point, or did he go to other people? Our next story is from Amara Hofferson 75. Entitled Woman made it so we had to put down my dog. Obviously, if you're sensitive to these subjects, I probably would maybe skip this story. I'll put a time code in the description below. Edit, I do give Mark full permission to use this story. So, been debating this for a while. Needs a fair bit of backstory, but it has a point, I promise you that. Backstory, growing up in the late 80s to early 90s, I had a very sweet dog. I didn't understand the fact the term was racist. I was a 1-year-old when we got this dog, and I told Mum, I want the Blackie one, so the name stuck. Blackie was a sweet dog, Doberman Pinscher / Golden Retriever cross, but he looked pure Doberman, the black and tan ones. But his ears and tail were not cropped or docked. Absolute sweetheart. Worst thing he would do is wag his tail and leave a bruise on your leg when he was happy. Otherwise, he'd lick you to death. Wouldn't hurt a fly. On to the story. We had some neighbours who hated the dog. They called him a beast. He would just sit there and smile at them, his tongue lolling out the side of his mouth, like dogs do. They would always yell at my mum to get that dangerous beast inside. This was in the days when Dobermans had the same stigma as pit bulls do now. It must be said that they were parents, and their kids would make our dog bark, only to yell at my mum for it as well. One day when I was at school, they fed him chicken bones before my mum took him to work with her. Found out later, the bones had splintered in his throat. When my mum found out, she took him to the vet, but the vet couldn't save him. The splintered bones had punctured from his esophagus through his windpipe. He was only 7 years old, but my mum had to have him put to sleep. Later, when she confronted the neighbours on why they did it, they said it was so that vicious beast doesn't kill anybody. You should know better than to have such a dangerous animal with small kids. What are you, stupid? Pretty damn entitled, thinking you know someone's dog better than them and can make the decision to kill it for them. Oh man, I hate the stories where an animal gets hurt, but at the same time it just reminds me what crazy people are out there to intentionally hurt an animal like that just because you think you know better. Ugh, I'm so sorry you had to go through that, Amara. It may have been a long time ago, but hell, those sort of things never leave you, right? And our next story is from Britty2073, Psycho-Religious Karen. This happened about 13 years ago when I was 17. A little backstory. I'm a girl and went to a private boarding school for kids with learning disabilities in the northeast of the US. One of my disabilities was that I would get easily influenced by other people if I hung out with them a lot and would let them take advantage of me. I also have high function autism. Not sure if this is all important to the story, but just wanted to give you an idea. Anyways, there was a girl at my school who wanted me to go down with her to her home for the weekend in Georgia. We'll call her Veronica. Veronica was 18 and I only knew her for who she was from school. Didn't know anything about her background, family, etc. I do want to add that my family isn't very religious and I never went to a church service in my life or have ever read the Bible. I am also attracted to both male and females and discovered this while being in boarding school. This is important later. I flew down with Veronica to her hometown in Georgia and met her family, including her mum, who were referred to as Karen. Karen and the family seemed very nice and welcoming. We went out to eat that night and had a great time and everything. Later on that night, we were going to bed. Veronica and I were laying down and talking. She was asking questions like if I ever kissed a girl and stuff like that. I said yes, and she mentioned that she would kiss a girl as well. I said, oh, that's cool. She then started holding my hand, and one thing led to another. We eventually experimented. Right after that happened, we laid there and she got really upset. I don't remember her exact words or mine, but it went something along the lines like this. Veronica said, I feel upset. And I said, how come? She said, because I feel guilty for what we did. We were talking some more and she made me feel guilty that we did this. I didn't know what to say, so I said I was sorry and tried to give her a hug. She said she needed space and left the room. I didn't know what to do and was assuming maybe she just wanted to think. Boy, was I wrong. I was sitting on the bed on my laptop that I brought just waiting for her. Veronica finally came in sobbing along with her mum, Karen. The whole conversation went like this. Karen was staring at me viciously. Whatever happened tonight between you two, it never happened. She freaking told her mum what we did. Me, scared and confused. Okay, Karen said, what you two did tonight was very wrong. Veronica is not like this. She is a Christian. I was confused by that and didn't know what to say and was trying to de-escalate the situation. She is a very good person. Karen said, of course she's a very good person, but you're not sleeping with her in here tonight. You can sleep in the other room. We all then go to the other room that I was going to sleep in, and she continues the conversation like this. She said, now Veronica, do you want me to send her home tomorrow? Veronica was still sobbing. She said, no, it's fine. Karen said, I just want to let you know, Veronica is not like this, okay? And this will not ruin her year at boarding school name. Homosexuality is very wrong and it will ruin your life. If you feel like you're attracted to girls, then you need help. If anyone tells you that it's okay to be that way, it's not. It is wrong. She just kept blabbing and yelling at me how bad homosexuality is and that it ruins people's lives and that's not normal. She then proceeded to tell me about Sodom and Gomorrah, explaining why homosexuality is wrong. Then Karen says, Veronica will ask God to take that image out of her head. Veronica sobbing, Mum is right, I'm not like that and it is wrong. Right before they left the room, Karen turns around and says, oh, and OP, if you tell anyone at boarding school name what you and her did, I will tell everyone that you are lying, and if anything, I will tell them that you forced her into it. She made me feel like I was such a horrible person that night, I cried myself to sleep. The next couple of days, Karen and Veronica acted very cold and awkward around me, and they both claimed that they couldn't sleep that night. When Veronica and I flew back up north, Karen made it so we sat in different seats, as if I had a freaking disease. I called up my mum when we got back to school and I told her everything that happened. My mum was pissed and even wanted to call Karen and bitch her out. I told her not to do that, so she didn't, but she did call up my school and let them know what happened to me when I was down in Georgia and how the mum acted towards me. The school did tell my mum that Karen was crazy and they will talk to me about it, which they did. I told them everything. The school told me not to worry about it and that I didn't do anything wrong and that it was very inappropriate for what Karen did. Everyone, including my school, knows that I would never force anyone to do anything. Like I said, I wasn't very religious before and after this whole incident. This woman left a bad taste of Christianity in my mouth. I know not all religious people are like this, but it seems like people like her give religious people and religion in general a bad name. Yeah, there's sort of groups in all walks of life that give certain topics a bad name. I mean, in gaming, for example, there's a bad group in there. In D&D, I'm sure there's a bad group in there too. You know, it's just everything in general. There's always someone that's going to bring it down. I know a lot of good Christian people. I grew up around a lot of really good Christian people, open and accepting, no matter what you do in your life, you know. But yeah, I'm sorry you had to go through that. It sounds like an awful experience. Thank you very much for sharing your story. Our next story is from Emotional Damage 4, entitled Aunt. Hi Mark, long time viewer here. I thought it was time to finally share the story of my entitled aunt. It's kind of long because I need to set up the backstory. Sorry in advance. The cast is as follows. Me, EA entitled Aunt, Marcus cousin 1, Jane cousin 2. So my EA has never been exactly pleasant. She was a bratty kid that turned into a bratty adult. When she had her one and only son though, Marcus, fake name, it got a lot worse. Suddenly, my cousins and I were inferior to Marcus. He was amazing because he was the only grandson to be born in about 16 years. The only boy before was my brother, who was around 16 to 17 when Marcus was born. Everyone else had girls. Apparently, he was God's gift to our family. Now, because of this mindset, Marcus never got in trouble. He broke something, he's only a kid, it's fine. He hit one of us, he's a kid, it's fine. He stole one of our toys, we should share with him because he's younger than us. If Marcus was to hit us and we hit back, we're in trouble. If he took something and we took it back, we're in trouble. We're never allowed to defend ourselves against Marcus, even though we were only a few years older than him. So when I was around 9, Marcus was 5. He had his birthday party and wanted all of our cousins to sleep over after, but only 2 of us could. The other cousin that stayed was my other aunt's youngest daughter, Jane. She was a year younger than Marcus and was also a spoiled brat, but was easier to be around. Marcus got a lot of presents for his birthday, so we naturally started playing with all of them. We developed a game called Hide the Furby, mostly because we didn't actually know the thing worked, so we all took turns hiding the Furby and having the other kids find it. The last round we got to play, Marcus was trying to hide the Furby in the closet that he couldn't reach on top of, and so when he tried to put it on the top shelf, it fell and broke. Although we didn't know it was broken, we thought nothing of it, and EA then called us into the kitchen for dinner, and so she could put batteries in the toys for us. Well, lo and behold, the Furby doesn't work when the batteries are put in. EA is immediately mad, saying she spent a lot of money on it, and whoever broke it better admit to it right now. We all told her we didn't know how it broke, but eventually Jane and I told her that Marcus had dropped it from the top of a closet. Marcus started screaming and crying that we were lying and that I had broken it instead of him. Marcus said, "They're lying, Alex threw it when she got mad because she lost our game. It hit the wall hard and that's what broke it." EA immediately believed him. Apparently he would never lie, even though Jane and I kept on telling her that's not what happened. She wouldn't listen though, and I was promptly spanked and made to sit in the corner until my mum got there to take me home. It's been almost 10 years and I'm still pissed about that stupid Furby. Wow, what a way to put your Furbies. Spanking though? Spanking someone else's child? That's not right, man. What I'd like to know, even though it's 10 years later, is Marcus still entitled? Is he grown up? Has he changed? Let me know in the comments. Our next story is from Mr. T335. Why my mum left my entitled dad. Hey Mark, I really want to talk to someone about my entitled dad because my siblings are too young to understand why mum left him. So backstory, my mum and my entitled dad meet in uni and got married less than 2 years later. They had me 10 months later. At this point they had 3 kids, me, my older brother and my older sister. RIP. Now from the age of 4 and until I was 18, my dad abused me mentally, emotionally and physically. He was pretty horrible to me and blamed me for everything that went wrong and constantly yelled at me and is the reason I can't sleep in the dark because of his cruel pranks. Now my mum was unaware of my dad's shitty behaviour because he only treated me this way when she was out. He was clever, my dad. Anyway, when I was 17, my older sister died. She took her own life. Our entire family was torn apart by her death. My poor mum was especially hit hard by her death. Now one thing you need to know about my older sister is that she wasn't my dad's daughter. She was my mum's ex's, but she still was my sister and I miss her. On to the story. ED entitled Dad, AM Awesome Mum, me the Easter Bunny. So a few months after my sister passed away, my dad took me and my brothers and sisters to Infinity War. It was very upsetting because I was already dealing with grief, but my dad didn't care and kept saying it was just a movie and to grow up. I yelled at him to shut up. When we got home I realised I had forgotten to turn the oven off and my dad won't stop yelling, so I tried to run away and had to get physically dragged back inside the house and into my room. My mum called out to my dad for his crappy behaviour and the next day dad was gone. Mum had kicked him out. A few weeks later we went to a social worker where I finally told both her and mum everything my dad had done and how he told me if I told anyone I would be taken away. My mum immediately went out and filed for a divorce. Later my dad messaged me. He said, "Hey there sweetie, I was wondering if you want to FaceTime me or come over to my place for a sleepover." Keep in mind I'm 18 at this point. My dad refuses to accept that I'm growing up. I said, "I don't think that's a good idea, Dad. Sorry." He said, "Did your mother tell you to say that?" I said, "No, Dad." "I think she did." "She didn't, Dad." "You know I love you and I'm proud of you, right?" "I don't know if he actually loves." I said, "I'll talk to you later." That's just a tip of what talking to my dad is like. I honestly believe my mum is the best mum I could have. Thanks for reading. It'd be interesting to know, sort of like you said about his cruel pranks at the start, what they were and stuff like that. From reading this, and I don't mean it like downplaying your story because obviously I don't know the ins and outs and everything, but he sounds like just a very immature person and probably doesn't know how to deal with his own feelings either. Thank you very much for sharing your story and I hope you're doing much better in life. And our next story is from Otaku Lover 9. My family are ignorant homophobes and I have to deal with them. Hi Mark, I love your videos and I love how you and the community always try to help. Because we're stuck in quarantine, I finally decided to try and throw my hat in the ring. Also, this really isn't entitled parents or entitled people, but an issue I'm in. This is a post I made in r/pansexual, so yeah, that's what my rant came from. I hope you can use this in a future video. Well, here you are. Okay, so here's the story. First time poster, blah blah blah, on computer. My family is low-key homophobic and I'm pan. Obviously, the homophobia isn't kill all gays or you're gay, you're going to hell. No, their homophobia is ignorance. They don't understand why people are prideful or why people will try to talk about. They're the kind of people that says, you can be gay, just don't flaunt it. Or, if you have to talk about your sexuality, then you obviously want to have sex with me. My mum said that to me. Recently, I had an argument with my brother in the grocery store. I honestly don't want to remember it, so I'm paraphrasing. Brother said, "So why are you upset, Otaku?" I said, "My friend isn't here, and I just want to talk to someone right now." "You can talk, that's fine. I don't mind." I said, "Are you sure? Because we didn't agree with this." And he said, "Shoot." I start my rant. Okay, so what I'm upset about is that Dad and I don't see eye to eye, and it just annoys me that he refuses to understand. I mean, that man said that I can't kiss my female partner. I'm single, in front of him, and I wanted to tell him how I felt upset that I'm not able to talk to my family about struggles I go through. I wanted to tell him that I wish Dad would understand, but I accepted that he won't change, and I accept that. The only thing I want from my family, and make a compromise, or at least get to the stage where I can just rant and they'll listen. Instead, I get interrupted, and this happens. Brother says, "You have to understand that Dad's not going to change, and get over it. Besides, nobody cares, and you're just making a problem out of nothing." I said, "No, I've accepted that fact, just..." And he cuts me off. "No you didn't, because if you did, we wouldn't have this issue. Just get over it, we're done." He walks forward and dances to his music as if nothing happened. I tried to argue some more, but he was just dismissive. I was going to cry, so I pushed the cart in front of me and went to the car. The story continues. My mother was upset because my brother also gave up on shopping, and he tried to frame that I threw a tantrum, so I put my earbuds in and refused to talk. My dad later asked me what happened and I didn't give him details. I stated that I was upset at B and I pushed the basket in front of me so that I can get away because I was going to cry. He asked me if I wanted to talk about it and I said no. I want to make it clear that out of my family, my brother is the least conservative, so if I talk to my parents, my dad will give me a BS speech, and my mum will also give me a BS speech and be dismissive. Here are some of the best quotes they told me and BS scenarios that you don't need to read, and it's just me ranting. Dad tried to make me watch a woman who believes being gay is a sin and chose to force herself to live a hetero life. Nobody is born gay, it's a choice. Being a gay relationship will be abusive. You're confused. Your gay relationship won't last long and you'll realise a straight relationship is the right one. Don't talk about anything gay around me or in my house. You can have a gay partner, but you can't be gay in front of me or in my house. I don't want to hear your gay shit. I'll add more if people are curious, but yes, this shit happened to me. I have more stories that I can post if people are interested, or I just want to rant again. Also, I just want to make it clear that I'm not in an abusive relationship with my family. It's just that my family and I don't see eye to eye, and their BS shows. Something I learned and accepted is that my parents are accidentally abusive since they are trying their best just to mess up a lot. I've seen some progress, but still difficult. But yeah, people, or Reddit, give me your opinions. Well, you said you're not in an abusive relationship, but that last list of quotes that you gave, that's verging on abuse, I'd say, if not abuse. To say you're confused or don't talk about anything gay around me or in my house, that's causing you to hold your feelings within inside and eating you up, clearly, which surely is a form of abuse, right? I'm sorry that you just can't be yourself in your own house. How ridiculous is that? But yes, feel free to rant anywhere on our subreddit, in our Discord, rant anywhere you like in front of us. Just free your mind, you know. Thank you very much for sharing that story, and I hope at some point your family does understand you. Shame on them if they don't, to be quite honest. Anyway guys, this has been your subscriber stories. If you did enjoy these stories, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell. And if you've got your own story, post it on r/daddycringe, and I'm sure we will get it on the channel at some point. Thank you very much for being here. Much love now.